The witch trials that swept across Europe didn't appear out of nowhere. They were the results of centuries of evolving beliefs, from ancient fears of harmful magic through medieval skepticism to a radical transformation in the 15th century that turned the witch from a solitary figure into an existential threat to Christendom itself. Welcome to Salem Witch Trials Daily. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
I'm Sarah Jack. Over the next few days, we are looking at the wider context of witch trials outside of Salem, beginning in early modern Europe.
While individuals were put on trial for using magic to harm others prior to the 15th century, the mass witch hunt, characterized by the hunting of a supposed organized diabolical sect, did not exist in Europe until specific theological ideas coalesced in the Western Alps in the 1430s and 1440s. Accusations began to emerge from the northern side of the Alps, spanning southeastern France, western Switzerland, and northwestern Italy, an area from Lyon to Innsbruck.
The elaborated theory, also known as the cumulative theory, held that witches received power from the devil, with whom they made a pact or even signed a contract. These witches brought sacrifices to the devil during sabbats, where they performed all manner of activities at odds with Christian teachings. They ate babies or made powders and ointments from their bodies. They kissed the devil's anus, and they had sex with each other and with devils.
Earlier Christian theory had held that the people who believed they practiced witchcraft were actually deluded by the devil. Now the devil was offering witches real power.
This conspiracy between the devil and witches was perceived as a real threat that would bring down Christian nations and the Christian church.
Between 1428 and 1436, witch trials in the Canton of Valais resulted in the execution of over 100 and possibly more than 200 people. The chronicler Hans Freund reported that authorities believed these witches were so numerous and organized that they could raise up a king from among their number to challenge Christendom.
In 1486, Heinrich Kramer's Malleus Maleficarum standardized these beliefs and spread them across Europe through the printing press. The text argued that women were particularly susceptible to the devil, cementing the stereotype of the witch as female and laying the groundwork for mass persecution.
Roughly 100,000 people were tried for witchcraft across Europe over the 350 years, 1400 to 1750. Between 40 and 60,000 of these were executed. About half of all activity occurred within the borders of the Holy Roman Empire.
The age of the European witch trials was about 1400 to 1750, though there were witch trials before 1400 and after 1750. The bulk of the activity in Europe happened in this 350-year time period.
The deadliest period fell right in the middle, the 50 years between 1580 and 1630. Trials were waning by the end of the 17th century, but even a century later, in 1793, Prussian forces occupying Poland hanged 2 people as witches.
Europe's final true witchcraft trial happened in 1818. Any trials after that were for fraud, not for practicing harmful magic.
Enforcement of witchcraft laws varied widely from place to place in Europe and the European colonies. Even within a nation or state, different locations saw different levels of witch hunting, and periods of hunting ebbed and flowed.
The Great Witch Hunt peaked between 1560 and 1660, resulting in 40,000 to 50,000 executions across Europe, but the trials varied dramatically by region.
The Holy Roman Empire was the epicenter, accounting for roughly half of all executions. Torture extracted confessions that led to chain reaction accusations and mass panics. Convicted witches were burned at the stake.
England treated witchcraft as a felony, not heresy. Witches were hanged, and trials focused on harming neighbors or livestock rather than diabolical conspiracies.
Scotland was far more brutal, executing 5 times as many people per capita as England. Influenced by King James VI's writings, trials involved torture through sleep deprivation, searching for the devil's mark, and burning at the stake.
Southern Europe's inquisitorial courts were skeptical, viewing witchcraft as superstition rather than reality. They executed very few people, with the Basque witch hunt of 1609 to 1614 as a notable exception.
Scandinavia absorbed these beliefs later. Norway's 1617 witchcraft decree led to around 300 executions, while Sweden's Great Noise of 1668 to 1676 involved accusations of children being abducted to the Sabbath.
While belief in witchcraft was pretty much universal in early modern Europe, beliefs about witchcraft and witches varied widely from region to region and even within local communities.
In most areas, women were the primary victims of witch hunts, but some places held that men were more likely to be witches because the devil had more use for them than what he could hope to get out of women who weren't even considered good enough to be witches.
Witch trials were typically more controlled in nations with strong centralized justice systems. In places with greater local autonomy, enforcement varied more dramatically.
By 1750, several institutional and intellectual developments had combined to all but eliminate witch trials in Europe. Nations were taking the place of kingdoms, and control was more centralized. Judges became more skeptical.
The development of European witchcraft beliefs and trials evolved from ancient concepts of magic into a specific legally defined crime involving a diabolical conspiracy against Christendom. The evolution occurred through several distinct phases and regional variations.
The concept of the witch has ancient roots. In Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome, witches were feared as practitioners of harmful magic. But the early medieval Christian church was skeptical. The Canon Episcopi of 906 CE declared that beliefs about women flying by night were delusions, not reality.
That changed in the 15th century in the Western Alps. A new concept emerged. Women weren't just individuals causing harm, but members of a vast anti Christian conspiracy. They made pacts with Satan, attended collective gatherings called Sabbaths, and flew through the night using ointments made from murdered children.
In 1486, Heinrich Kramer's Malleus Maleficarum standardized these beliefs and spread them across Europe through the printing press. The text argued that women were particularly susceptible to the devil, cementing the stereotype of the witch as female and laying the groundwork for mass persecution. Join us again tomorrow for more about the European witch trials.